What's up guys, it's Austin. Welcome to today's storytime video. I am going to be talking about 3 times that I went to haunted locations and some really weird stuff happened off camera. Now, I have already told these stories before a long time ago, but I realized they weren't told very well. They just weren't up to par with how my videos are now. This first one happened back in 2019. This was at the Empress Theater when me and Adam went there for the first time. This experience was something me and him will probably never forget. I don't know if he still remembers it. I don't really talk to him much anymore, but this is what happened. So back in 2019, we went there. If you guys don't know what the Empress Theater is, go to my 2022 Empress Theater series. I made a whole entire 2-episode long series on it. Go check it out. But anyways, we went to the theater back in 2019 and we booked it. And when we went in, we were talking to the guy, he greeted us and said, not much activity has happened in the past 4 months. I don't know if any spirits are still going to be active here because we haven't had anything happen in a little while. We were there for about half an hour, keep in mind, so we weren't there for very long. My investigations now, since I make them into a series when I go to like haunted locations specifically, not my house, I'm there at these locations for like 4 to 5 hours or overnight. This was a very short time period. Don't quote me on this, but I think we arrived there at 9:30, left at 10. So we're setting up the camera and I have my little G7X vlogging camera. We are vlogging around, we're just looking around. Not much is happening. We're walking around backstage. I'll get into some of the stories about this place. So there's a ghost called Ed, who was a janitor there back in the day, and he is said to watch performances from the side of the stage or near the backstage area. That is one of the places that he usually is, and up in the balcony at his seat, FF1. We're backstage looking at stuff filming. And then we're just like, let's go to the basement. So we're filming, and we're going down to the basement, and we're just like, oh, this is really creepy. We're walking down the hallway. It looks like an area where you would hold a meeting. It had a bunch of tables, basically looked the exact same way that it did 2 years ago when I went there for the series. So anyways, we're walking down that hallway to the double doors that lead into that area. Adam hears something, and I'm pretty sure the camera picked it up in the video. He's just like, I swear I just heard a pencil drop behind us, what sounded like a pencil dropping on the floor. I don't know if I heard it. I can't remember. I'd have to look back at that video, but first Adam heard that. After a while of filming in the basement, we're going into the dressing rooms, I'm pretty sure. We're walking around, we're trying to figure out what to film because not much is happening. So we're just like, maybe the guy was right. Maybe nothing will happen. Keep in mind also that the guy that let us in was sitting at the front desk way at the front of the theater, far away from where we are. This is going to be very important to remember for later. So we're sitting at one of the round tables. I turned off my camera, and this was the most terrible time to turn off my camera. So I turned it off. I'm just like, what should we film right now? Like, should we do a seance? What should we do? And I wish I would have kept the camera recording at this part, just left it sitting somewhere, because as we're sitting there, I'm looking at Adam's phone and his flashlight flickers really fast, and then his video on his phone turns off. So his phone flashlight flickers and his video on his phone also turns off by itself. So his phone was completely malfunctioning. He said it's never done that before, and there was no limit at the time for how long he could record on it. He immediately knew that that was really strange, and the flashlight had never done that before on his phone either. And then get this, a few seconds later, not even probably 5 seconds later, we hear what sounds like boots walking above our heads in the backstage area. So where we are with the round tables, right above us is the backstage area where Ed is known to mostly hang out, other than his seat in the front area, away from the backstage. We're just like, who is that? Is that the guy walking around up there trying to scare us? Like, it was literally like boots walking around backstage. So anyway, we hear that. I grab my camera, I turn it back on. I'm like, okay guys, like we just heard somebody walking around upstairs. We're gonna see if it was the guy. And I think I remember off camera, I'm just like, if it was the guy, I'm gonna be so mad because he knows that we're trying to get paranormal activity. So if he's trying to scare us right now, I'm gonna be pissed. We go up there and I'm just like, should I ask if it was him? Should I go do that? And he's just like, we'll ask him later. But like, I wanted to know right away. And this is the part in the video where we were going to go up to the balcony. So we were going to talk to him anyway to have him allow us access up there. So we talked to the guy and we're just like, hey, like we want to go up to the balcony right now. But before we do, we were just wondering something. And he's like, oh, what happened? And we're just like, well, We heard footsteps above our heads, like it sounded like someone was walking around with boots. We were just wondering, was that you walking around up there? Like, were you above that part of the stage? Like, were you in the backstage area? And he said, no, that was not me. And then he continued to say that people do report hearing footsteps in those areas. And me and Adam just like looked at each other. We're just like, what in the hell? So that was the Empress Theater experience back in 2019. This next story happened in 2015 at the Galt Museum. This place is in my city. So what happened with this Galt Museum, the story about this place is there was a guy named George Bailey. He was going in for a surgery. The elevator had malfunctioned. So I'm pretty sure how the story goes, his gurney was like halfway on and halfway off the elevator, I'm pretty sure. And then what happened is he fell down the elevator shaft. It either malfunctioned or somebody pushed for a button. It just completely went haywire. But he didn't die from that fall. Later in the night, he did die. But when he did fall, he got up and he was shuffling around like normal. But he died later that night, like I just said. So I booked a ghost tour for me and my friend Brendan. I wanted him to see how creepy this place was and how spooky of an atmosphere it is in this basement. Well, I booked a ghost tour for after hours. This wasn't an investigation. This was just strictly a ghost tour. The woman is taking us through the building after hours. It's like about 5 or 6 o'clock. It's dark because it was like winter time. It was November. She starts taking us to the basement after all the other places. We enter through the doors. Now, this is the area where George died. So the elevator that's there now is not the original elevator. So when you go through these double doors, you go to the left, and just to your left a couple feet after you turn that corner, there's a bathroom. That's where he died in the elevator, and that's where the old elevator was. Right as we walked through those double doors, we didn't even turn the corner, but she did tell us that's where his death was. We're standing there. Before she even says anything, I'm like looking behind me. I get this weird feeling that I'm just being absolutely just watched. Not like in a really bad way, but just like someone's looking at you, you know? It didn't feel like a bad spirit. It just felt very heavy in there. It felt like something was just watching you. Just the feeling of that room was very heavy. And I was just kind of looking at Brendan like, is he feeling the same thing too, I wonder? I didn't really say anything, but I just kept looking behind me, and the tour guide's like, oh, don't worry, there's no one there. And I didn't even say anything, but she noticed I was looking behind me a lot. Get this, after I have that heavy feeling, she says this: people have reported having a heavy feeling down here. My jaw just about hit the floor, and I'm just like, what? So fast forwarding to the end of the tour, we're done the tour, we're going back to the car, and I'm just like, dude, that building felt weird down there in that basement. And he's like, dude, I felt the same thing too. And I'm just like, it felt heavy down there, didn't it, when we entered those double doors? He's like, yeah, it was right as we entered those doors. He was agreeing with me. Same exact story, same exact feeling, in the exact same spot. And that was our tour at the Galt Museum, and that place is still haunted to this day. So these last two stories happened on my birthday. This was back in 2016, so this is a year later, August 8th, 2016. My aunt knows that I love going to haunted places, so she booked a place to eat for dinner at the Moosehead Inn in Kenosee, Saskatchewan. And then we were going to go to this place called The Lodge. I think it was also called the Chalet back then, or maybe it's called that now or whatever. So after swimming, we go to the Moosehead Inn. This is a diner, it's a restaurant, it's also I think a hotel too. This place is now burned down, unfortunately, so I cannot go back there and investigate even if I wanted to, which sucks. Rest in peace to the Moosehead Inn. I would love to go back, but I can't now. So as we're waiting for our food, we hear what sounds like a chair being dragged across the floor, like a wooden chair being like, and it almost sounded like someone was walking around, like heavy footsteps up there. It was almost like people were dancing up there and moving heavy chairs around, dragging across the floor. My aunt heard it, my cousin Matthew heard it, I heard it, and I'm just like, what is going on up there? So we get our food, we finish, we're going outside, we're taking pictures of the building, and then we see this man on the other side of the building. So on each side of the building, there were stairs that led up to each side of the building. So on this one side, this guy was sitting at the very top of the stairs. So we went up and talked to him, and he's like, oh, did you enjoy your food and everything? Like, how was it? And we're just like, yeah, it was really good. We were also wondering, like, is there an event going on upstairs? Because we heard a lot of banging and like stuff dragging across the floor. It sounded like chairs being dragged. He said that he was the only one working there that day. There's nobody up there, and he was not up there at the time that we heard those sounds. And then he said, if you really want to know if somebody's up there, you can go to the other side of the building, walk up the stairs and go to the window and you can go check. So what we do after we're done talking to him, we go over to the window. Oh, and by the way, he said that that stuff happens in there regularly on that floor, that we heard those weird sounds, those dragging sounds. So we go over to that window. We're in shock. There's no one up there. No one was working up there. The guy was right. I don't know if this dude was the manager, but yeah, we looked in that window and there was absolutely nobody there. So then after the Moosehead Inn, like I said, there was 2 places we went to on this day. So after the Moosehead Inn, we went to this place called the Chalet or the Lodge. I'm not sure what it's called now, but we called it the Lodge in the video, I'm pretty sure. It's not on YouTube anymore. So Matthew didn't want to walk around this building with us. So again, we get out, we took pictures of this building. My cousin Matthew is in the car. He didn't want to go and check out the building. Like I said, we end up taking our pictures, we're walking around, and we come back. My Aunt Lynette gets into the car, and I'm going up to each door, seeing if they're unlocked, because like we tried like every door to see if we could get in and like explore the place and see if we could get like a little bit of a ghost tour or something, or some ghost stories, but it was not open, I guess. I'm just like, okay, well that sucks. So we got into the car. Matthew tells us that while we were walking around the back taking pictures of the place, he said, I saw a woman in one of the windows up there, and she was wearing like really old style clothing, like clothing a maid would wear back in the day. Oh my god. My camera light just turned off. One sec, guys. My light just died. It's never done that during a story time before for a long time. The light was dead. It wasn't a ghost or anything. I would let you know if that was the case. But anyway, my cousin Matthew said he saw a figure at one of the windows in the building. She looked like she was a maid wearing very old style clothing, like what maids would wear back in the day. We thought he was messing with us. We were like bugging him just to see if he was like telling the truth. We're just like, are you sure? Are you positive you're not messing with us? He was completely serious the whole time. He was like, no, I saw somebody up there and they were wearing really old style clothing that you wouldn't be wearing nowadays, because nobody in that building wears that kind of clothing now. And we knew that. And we're just like, if you actually saw that, that is creepy. So yeah, that is what happened at the Chalet / the Lodge. Alright guys, that is the end of today's video with the story times of all these haunted places. Don't forget to please comment, like, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.